I had to hit my camera to get it working. Yeah, it keeps on giving me an SD card error. Finally, I hit the side of it. I don't even know what I'm thinking. It's nice to know that we're filming the show with the jukebox from Happy Days. Yeah. I say jukebox, all right? You got a fucking problem with that? I know it's jukebox. Do you ever put a song on a jukebox? What do you say? Jukebox? Who says jukebox? You know what? Leave me the fuck alone. I need coffee. I haven't drank coffee in 3 days. So you ready for this? This is going to be like a rocket ship taking off. Yeah. I'm probably going to wind up vomiting into my pants. I've been drinking so much coffee lately, I'm like frazzled by the time I go to bed. I'm like out of my mind. It's ridiculous. And then I sleep like somebody hit me over the head with a hammer. So I just eliminated coffee altogether. I drink Bustelo, black. Okay? And this is espresso coffee. Do you understand? I drink a cup of it in the morning, a full mug, like to the brim. Remember that coffee commercial? Fill it to the rim with brim. Like what? Wasn't this like decaf coffee brim? It was like Sanka. Like how, what? I never understood decaf coffee. It's like non-alcoholic beer. Remember O'Doul's? Hey, I'll have an O'Doul's. It's like, what? It's like, give me the beer belly without the good times. What the... I love this Heineken commercial. It's not non-alcoholic Heineken. The guy's driving, drinking it in his car. Hey, coppers, look at me. I guarantee you that'll get you arrested on Long Island. Yeah, you can try that shit in North Carolina, no problem. Try it in North Carolina. They'll break the bottle over your head while they got you bent over the hood of the car. And they got half a plunger up your ass. Yeah. Oh, police. Listen, police brutality. Everybody's yelling police brutality nowadays. Are you kidding me? You remember what they did to that Louima guy back in the 90s? Remember the Haitian guy? They got him in the bathroom and they shoved the plunger up his ass. Could you imagine what would have happened today? Oh my God, they would have burnt Manhattan to the ground. The Empire State Building would have looked like a burnt matchstick. Yeah. People forget about that guy. Oh, they wanted you to forget about that one real quick. Yeah. They like pierced his colon. Like, what? What kind of sicko shit is this? You want to stick a little plunger end up somebody's ass, it's one thing. But when you pierce his colon? I mean, come on. Where do you draw the line? He had like his bowels. It was like bowel shaking earthquakes. What? This is crazy. And then like the next day you didn't hear about it. That was the 90s. You know? The state was like, here you go, buddy. What do you need? Here's $5 million. Listen, you give a Haitian guy $5 million. He's like, can I get another plunger over here? Let's face it. He went back to Haiti. I think he's the king over there now. All right, maybe not. But you know what? Where was everybody for this guy, Louima? I still remember. I'm gonna have a shirt, Louima. I still remember with like a bloody plunger end, hanging on the T-shirt. I still remember. Everybody forgot about Louima. Yeah, he's driving around in fucking BMW 745 with a hemorrhoid pillow. I don't know. Listen, for fuck's sake. What kind of sick bastard cop do you gotta be? Like, there was a bunch of guys in there. Yeah, I never got this frat boy bullshit. All right? You ever grow up with these frat boys? They used to, I don't know, there was this mentality. We had certain kids in high school even. They would go around hitting each other in the nuts. I'm like, what? No. I'm sorry. If you're hitting me in the nuts, we're rolling. It's go time. I don't, what is this frat boy stuff about? Snapping each other with wet towels? I'm out. I never understood it. The whole jamming things up each other's asses. What? Come on. I mean, listen, I like fun and games like the next guy. But you're not sticking a pipe up my ass. You know? That's for my wife to do. All right. You guys ready to get started here? I mean, we're doing a different show today. Do you mind? Do you mind? Let me get a sip of this coffee. Oh, sweet nectar of the gods. Woo! I vowed no more coffee except for the show. So, yes, you're welcome. Again. It's like, you're goddamn welcome. I say, wow, that's good. Oh, yeah. So, here we go. I wanted to come out today, and I wanted to talk about Eddie Van Halen. I wanted to talk about the Franken-Nintendo, and just, this is so bizarre. This build was so bizarre, I can't explain it to you. Okay, let me explain my experience with Eddie Van Halen and Van Halen in general. I never bought a Van Halen album in my life. Okay? I might have got close to buying 1984. I never did. But I've always loved Van Halen. Does anybody have this experience? No? All right. No. The first time I heard Van Halen, we had black and white TV, and we had UHF and VHF. And what you would do is you'd go to UHF, you'd go to channel 55, and there was a music station that would vaguely come in and play music videos, almost like a rip-off MTV. It was Music 55. Okay? And you'd catch videos like, I don't know, Susu Studio, Phil Collins, Chaka Khan, you understand? UTFO, Roxanne. I mean, you name it. I take Red Alert by Rush, Billie Jean. This is the first time I saw Billie Jean, Michael Jackson video. So what I used to do is I used to have a tape recorder, and I would run to the side of the TV. And when my favorite songs would come on, I'd record them. And one of them was, if you remember the video for Jump, this was like bananas. This was David Lee Roth jumping off the drum riser, full split, tassels coming down. You got to understand something about David Lee Roth, guys. This guy had the hair. It was like the mane of a lion. He had the bedroom eyes. Not that a fucking 9-year-old boy would care about that. But he had the attitude, the strut. David Lee Roth, shoulders pinned back, chest out. I mean, this guy was frontman galore. And the scream, that, I don't know, what is it called? The David Lee Roth scream. This is unbelievable stuff. And then it was Eddie Van Halen shredding on that guitar. And let's face it, Eddie Van Halen was a good-looking guy. I knew it back then. In rock and roll, it was important to have a certain look. All right? I mean, you had David Lee Roth, you had Eddie Van Halen, you had Alex back there, like, flying around, and then you had Michael Anthony. It was like, okay, they got somebody from the Butcher Parlor to play the bass. It's like, hey, listen, can't you guys can this guy? I know we all give Michael Anthony a beat down, all right? But let's face it, he's a very important part of Van Halen. I love how you watch videos now, like live Van Halen, and in the comments below, it's everybody talking about Michael Anthony. It's like the cool thing to do now. He was really more than anybody says he was. It's the same thing with Led Zeppelin now. You go into the comment section, everybody talks about John Paul Jones. Yeah, we know, because everybody's so sick and tired of talking about Robert Plant and Jimmy Page and John Bonham. So now it's the cool thing to say, John Paul Jones was really the backbone of Led Zeppelin. We get it. We get it. But I remember seeing, and they were flying on like strings, and Michael Anthony had that, what did he have, that Jack Daniels bass guitar? And you just like, it was like overload, and Eddie Van Halen sitting there wailing. It was like, this is too much. Too much, eh? Too much, eh? This was like rock and roll in your fucking face. By God! By God! You want to talk about one of the underrated players in the band? Alex Van Halen, guys. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Watch him live. Because, you know, it's not that Alex Van Halen was an overly technical drummer. It was just that his endurance through the fucking show. He never let up, and he never lost power through the show. And this guy was playing full blast. I don't even know how he can move his arms and shoulders today. Honestly. Honestly. These guys were loud. All right, we're getting off course here. So I always loved the song Jump, you know? Yeah. And I recorded it. But the thing that really cemented me for Van Halen is going to Adventureland and going on the Gravitron, okay? I want to know what happened to the Gravitron! I don't see it anymore. I go to all these state fairs and everything. Where's the Gravitron? The Gravitron, you would get in, and it was this enclosed... Oh, right. Try the Gravitron now with COVID. It was like this enclosed flying saucer that would spin around, and it would like go up, and it would still be spinning, and it would pin you against the wall. The centrifugal force would pin you against the wall, and then the floor would drop out from under you, and you would just like suspend it against the wall. And the favorite thing to do on the Gravitron was, you know, naturally your buddy was next to you, and you'd spit. And the spit would go, you know, you'd spit out, and it would like slap him in the face, and you'd fucking laugh, and he'd be crying. Or you'd hold your hand out like this, because it took all your might, especially when you were young. It took all your might to stick your hand out, and then you would just bring it over your friend, and then let your muscles loose. And boom, you'd give your buddy like a Ric Flair chest chop. Oh, the Gravitron. Anyhow, first time I ever got on the Gravitron, and you got to understand something, there was a DJ right in the middle, okay? And I think the guy was even smoking cigarettes. I'm not kidding you. He had like the mullet, the mustache, the sunglasses. He's smoking cigarettes. All right, we're going to take these kids for a ride. He was a DJ, and he had like, it was like a DJ setup. And he'd get on there. All right, you know, who's ready to rock and roll? This type of thing. And you get on, you're like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? My boner's going to fight the centrifugal force. This thing started spinning up, and they started playing Panama. And holy shit, that memory, and it was so loud. It was like concert loud. Panama. Has there ever been a more fucking party song than Panama? No. It's just so fucking rocking. That the harmonics. She got me rocking, shining machine. Got the feel for the way she keeps the moving parts clean. Hot shoe, boiling down the avenue. Model citizen with zero discipline. Don't you know she's coming over me? Oh, come on! Hey, Van Halen! Damn it! Sip of coffee. Damn it! This is the guy we gotta lose? It's heartbreaking. I can think of a million other people that need to die. I work with most of them. But you know what? You got these loaves of shit sitting around all day. They're going to live forever. And we lose Eddie Van Halen? Come on. 40 years of music this guy gave us. You got to be kidding me. And then going over my friend's house in the morning, and he had MTV. Of course, everybody had MTV but me. Yeah, thank you. Getting ready for school, and on comes Hot for Teacher. And it was just like, this song is blazing. You had Alex Van Halen doing like it was like the Lopey Cam small block. I don't even know how he does it. The drumming in the beginning, it sounds like a Lopey Cam of like a race car. And who doesn't like that? I remember when I had my big block 460. Okay? When I built a race engine for my 77 Thunderbird, a car that shouldn't be raced because it weighs 1 million pounds, but it's all I had. And I put a big block 460 in it. And all I wanted was a huge cam so I could have that sound blowing through cherry bombs. That sound was like a campfire. It was random. It's like, how can an engine that's timed so precisely create such a chaotic, random exhaust? It was random. It just didn't make sense. That's what was so exciting about it. It's like, this engine I have tuned to a T. I filed the piston rings. You understand? I have it timed with a strobe light. It's perfect. It runs perfect. I have the carburetor tuned. It's perfect. And then out the exhaust pipe comes. It just doesn't make sense. It was awesome. My favorite thing to do is to bring the car to the gas station. I had a fuel cell in the back, in the trunk. Fuel up the gas tank. Check to see if my microphone's fucking me tender, and listen to the exhaust note. Oh my God, it's beautiful. All I wanted was 6-sound and exhaust, and to do burnouts. I wanted to go down to the track and do ridiculous burnouts through the water box. Okay? With radial tires. And you're not supposed to do burnouts with radial tires. I know, but I didn't give a fuck. Okay? I just want to do burnouts and listen to a Lopey Cam. And here's the beginning of Hot for Teacher. It's genius. And then he hits the ride. And then Eddie's solo comes in, and Alex is going crazy on the ride. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. So the list goes on. And now, I'm going to tell you something right now. When we lost and Drop Dead Legs. Come on. I mean, you could go on and on. Mean Streets. Mean Streets, it makes me cry now. When I hear the intro to Mean Streets, when I listen to Van Halen music, I get the chill down the spine. Still. The chill goes down the spine. The beginning of little guitars, it hurts. It hurts. So, when Sammy came in, and I got news for you. When Sammy came in, I was out. I was out of there, buddies. And it was a tragedy. Do you understand? We lost the Eddie Van Halen. We lost Van Halen when we lost David Lee Roth. And it was crushing. And it was the popular thing to do was to bag on Sammy, right? We could all bag on Sammy. But I'm going to tell you something right now. I remember playing Super Ghosts and Goblins over my buddy Jake's house. All right, kid I met at school. I went over there, and we went over there on a Saturday. Me and my buddy Phil, I believe. Yeah, we went over Jake's house, and there were 2 songs that they kept on playing on MTV while we're playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and it was November Rain, Guns N' Roses, and Right Now. And remember that video for Right Now? So I remember we were taking turns playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts, going nowhere fast because the game was so fucking hard. And remember sitting on the couch, and we had one TV with the MTV on, one TV with the video game on, and This is like the greatest thing for a kid like me because I didn't have MTV. So we're playing a new Super Nintendo game, which was an awesome game. And then I would sit on the couch when I was done playing and I would watch MTV. And I remember watching Right Now, and like this song was like kind of grabbing a hold of you. It was like the video had like a meaning to it. And even being a dumb as shit young kid, I was still like, wow, you know, I liked the song, the haunting piano and whatnot. And what really grabbed me was on Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, Pound Cake. When I heard Pound Cake, that was it. I said, Sammy Zing. At that point, I stopped giving him a hard time. Because Pound Cake is such a good song. Oh my God. I love that song. And my true appreciation for Sammy came where, guys, turn this off right now and go watch Van Halen's free concert in Dallas with Sammy Hagar. And if you watch that show, you're going to have a new respect for Sammy Hagar. You watch them live in Dallas. It's a beautiful day. And it reminds you of the 90s. You see the kids, just the behavior, the look of the place. It's just a shining day for Van Halen. Oh, it's a beautiful show. It's recorded well. And apparently, Sammy was having problems with his voice or something like that, so they had to cancel a show in Dallas. So then they came back and they did a free show. This is the way these guys were. You understand? And I got news for you right now. The special thing about Eddie Van Halen is guitarists of the time took themselves really seriously. All right? Mick Mars and Yngwie Malmsteen and Steve Vai, they were so serious. You know, I'm a guitar god and my ego is just like bursting from every angle. If you ever watch Eddie Van Halen, he's always smiling. Always. That was a wonderful thing about the Van Halen as a group. These guys were smiling. Alex was smiling. David Lee Roth, well, you know, he was smiling too. Everybody was smiling. This is, you know, this tells you something. The crazy thing about Eddie Van Halen too is how humble he was. I've been listening to interviews with him now. Number one, he was a fucking badass. You know, he recorded something with Fred Durst. Oh, he went, when Limp Bizkit was big, can you imagine this? Eddie Van Halen went over there to record with them. Okay? I'm talking about a low point in Van Halen's career. And he went there with his equipment. And when he went there, it was a big pot smoking fest. And these guys really weren't, I guess they didn't have the work ethic that Eddie was looking for. So Eddie left. Not on bad terms. I think he just walked out. He's like, all right, these guys want to party, they don't want to work, and he left. He calls up Fred Durst, I guess, the next day because he wants his equipment back. He wants to pick up his equipment. No answer on the phone. And I guess Limp Bizkit blew him off for a couple of days. Eddie Van Halen hops in his whatever military vehicle he had at the time. He rides over there shirtless with a gun. And basically, you know, threatens them, give me my equipment or I'm going to fucking, as Eddie Van Halen says, I'm going to blow you away. I love him. I love him for that. And it's funny because there's a great interview on YouTube of a radio guy, I guess, interviewing Eddie for an article, but it's over the phone. And the guy's recording it. And Eddie doesn't know the guy's recording it. Because he comes out of character. He says, hey, listen, do me a favor. Don't print this. And the guy's cool. He's like, yeah, I won't print it, Ed. What's going on? And so you know Eddie's telling the truth. They're having a candid conversation. And he says something about David Lee Roth or something like that. And he says, hey, listen, man, if you print this, you know I'm going to come over there. I'm going to blow you away.
Cathedral I've been doing for, over a year. And I wanted to put it on record. And, okay, what I'm about to tell you, don't print.
Okay.
please?
Okay, you got it, Eddie.
It's just that Dave said no more fucking guitar solos. You know.
He's crazy.
No, I mean, you know, he's on an ego trip. He's always been whatever. And if you print this, I'm gonna fucking come up to your house and blow your ass away. No, but it's true.
I've never printed anything you didn't want me to before.
Yeah, I know.
And he's basically like, I know where you live. And he's like, you know I'll do it. And the guy's like, yeah, I know, Ed. I'm not going to print it. Oh, my God. So this leads us to the Franken-Nintendo. And my inspiration for this was I couldn't stop when Eddie Van Halen died. I couldn't stop thinking about him. I don't know what it was. I couldn't stop thinking about him. I started just listening to the music, and I was having dreams about him. I was having dreams that we were like hanging out. It was fucking crazy, and I mean lucid dreams. Like we were having conversations and stuff like that, and I don't know. So I was thinking, I need to do a new project. And I had a stack of Nintendos up here. And I'm trying to clean out this place because it was a complete disaster area. And I had this stack of Nintendos. And I'm like, I got to get rid of this shit in here. I can't have this clutter around here anymore. I can't function. So I'm like, I'll just toss these fucking Nintendos out. And as I'm walking to the trash can with this handful of Nintendos, it hits me like a bolt of lightning. I don't even know how to explain it to you. It almost made me like trip and fall. It was like a shock of electricity down my spine. And I went, oh. And I just had this vision. I said, the Frankenstrat. The Nintendo. The Franken-Nintendo. Just like that. And I had the vision of it. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you. I'm not trying to brag on myself, all right? I'm just saying the way it hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks, and I swear to God, the vision of exactly the way it looks right now was right there in my head. And I got so excited. I ran back in here. I started working on it immediately. And the scary thing about this one is, every build I've ever done, it's fought me. It's been mentally stressful. I got to a point where I didn't want to do it anymore. I was sick and tired of it. It's just problem after problem after problem with these builds. It's just the nature of it. And it's part of the reason why I almost like doing them, because I know I'm going to hit these challenges and I got to plow forward. With this one, every single thing fell into place. Every idea fit exactly where I wanted it. The cigarette lighter, there was a perfect amount of space in there. The way the battery sat in here, the battery sits in the back like it was meant to be. I bought that battery for a project and I just had it laying around. All the pieces were there. I had these tuning knobs laying around in the basement. And I said, oh yeah. Oh yeah, the strings. Oh yeah, I have that. The 4-score. I had the 4-score. It was like every piece was ready, available, and the pieces that I wanted. This is an ashtray from a '68 Camaro. I went on eBay and I saw the ashtray, and the guy didn't give dimensions or anything. I just looked at it and I said, well, we'll make it work. It fits exactly where it's supposed to go. There's a heat sink behind here that just touches the ashtray, and if you can't go any further this way because of this black piece right here. So everything fit. The 4-score fit. You have this main body here for the cartridge holder. The 4-score fit exactly under where this comes down. It's insane. It's insane. Everything just wanted to work. Everything wanted to work to the point where it would give me chills. And I would come out here and I would work on it just nonstop. I would come home from work and I would work on it until the sun went down, and I'd go inside, and it was like I was running on adrenaline. I don't know how to explain it to you. That's part of the reason why I stopped drinking the coffee. I was running on adrenaline, and I would come in, I would take a shower, and I would just dump on the bed. And then I wake up the next morning, and at work, all I could do was think about it. I would actually wear this stupid sweater, put my phone, because the sweater has this little pocket right here, and I would listen to Eddie Van Halen music, interviews, everything. It was just, I was just obsessed with it. And crazy interview was with Howard Stern. Howard Stern says he got a new job in Detroit. This is way back. And he was super nervous about early 80s, maybe late 70s. I don't even. He got this job in Detroit, and it was his first week there, and they put him up in a hotel. And Van Halen was in town, and they were on the same floor. And he says he walked out into the hallway, and there were just hundreds of the most beautiful women you've ever seen running around. He said, I couldn't believe what was going on. And he says, this is great. I got to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm a nervous wreck to start this new show. And Eddie Van Halen's they're partying all night long over here. And he says it got to the point where he walked down the hallway and their door was open, and he looks inside, and it's like David Lee Roth wearing like almost like a washcloth sized towel around his waist. He just got out of the shower, and there's 2 girls blow drying his hair. I'm like, that's rock and roll, baby. Anyhow, you hear stories like that, and then the most interesting part about Eddie Van Halen to me was the Frankenstrat. And this is something that I'm not a guitar guy. But I'm fascinated by guitars, and I'm fascinated by any type of mechanical and electrical engineering whatsoever. And the Frankenstrat was basically, Eddie Van Halen took a Stratocaster, the Les Paul humbucker, right? From a Les Paul, and he installed it inside of a Frankenstrat, inside of a Stratocaster. This is like unbelievable. It was even like the pickups have poles on them that have to go underneath the strings. They didn't line up the strings, so he had to chisel the body out and turn the pickup like this so that the poles would line up with the strings. It's unbelievable. And then he mounted it solid to the body, whereas the humbucker and the Les Paul was suspended by springs. So, because he wanted this sound. But the humbucker kept on buzzing. So he figured the poles are like magnetically coils or something like that. He thinks they were vibrating. So he decided to take the humbucker. He grabbed his mother's like coffee can and melted paraffin wax in it and dipped the humbucker in the paraffin wax to insulate the humbucker from the vibration. It's like, what? He wanted this sound so badly. It's like, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention? Yes. So he went on this wild ride with this guitar, and he was melting the humbuckers because the plastic would melt when he would put it in the hot paraffin. So he destroyed a bunch of them until he finally got it right, and then he got it to work. And you're like, what? And this, he would boil the guitar strings to get take the stresses out of them before he would install them on the guitar. And then he would wind the strings through the neck, the bridge on the fretboard. Everybody else would wind the strings down with the tuning knobs. The strings would wind down, they would spool down and create an angle on the strings. He would wind the strings up to reduce the angle going through the bridge on the neck and file the bridge so the strings could slide back and forth easily and oil the bridge. That way he could use his whammy, the tremolo bar, the whammy bar, and the strings wouldn't go out of tune. This is before a Floyd Rose. Do you understand? And he had a quarter A lot of people wonder what the quarter is about. He had a 1971 quarter that was mounted kind of like this, offset, so he could rotate it. He can hit the whammy bar, rotate the quarter underneath the tremolo, and lock the tremolo in a detuned position and take down the tuning like a quarter. I don't know, a quarter. Take down the tuning a step. Huh? And then there was all this nonsense with the switch, the switch, and the other thing was he would play with the volume knob. That's how he did the Cathedral, right? He would hit the volume knob and play Cathedral. I don't know if you ever heard Cathedral. It sounds like it gives it as he's playing, he hits the volume knob up and down, and it gives this violin effect. But what would happen was the volume knob would heats up on the old Fender. When you would use it, it would heat up, and it actually, on his second take of Cathedral, it froze. So he did something with the volume knob, so it wouldn't do that. This was like technology, like before, like this guy was a genius. And the great part is his son, Wolfie. Listen to this. This is how crazy he is. His son came up to him and said, "Dad, I want to learn guitar." And Eddie said, "Okay." He goes, I'll find you a really good guitar instructor." And he's like, "No, Dad, I want to learn from you." And he was like, "Oh, really?" Like this is how like how grounded and modest he would. He couldn't believe that his son wanted to learn guitar from him. He wanted to get him like a legitimate guitar instructor. You gotta love that. It's like, what? Yes. I mean, it's just it's just sad. It's really sad to lose this guy. It's really, really sad. So yeah, so the Frankenstrat was the guitar that he recorded with. He said that that's my main axe.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That part. That was my regular old faithful red striped garbage Strat.
Is that? When I first met you, you were playing a black and white Strat.
That's the same guitar that I'm still using now.
You repainted it. I see.
It's
Yeah.
the same guts. Everything's the same.
Is the pickup still stuck in there with matchbook covers?
The same pickup. It just screwed right into the wood.
Too
I'll
much.
tell you, to me, man, it works. It sounds better to me when that pickup is mounted, screwed directly into the wood as opposed to suspended by springs.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I might be crazy, but that guitar sounds better than fucking anything else I've ever bought or built or owned.
Yeah.
He used it for recording. He used it. Oh, by the way, he stopped using the lockout on the quarter because when he would play live, it would slip out. And I guess you don't need that to happen, right? But as we know, Eddie was a big time drinker, a big time smoker. So the cigarette lighter and the ashtray was like a tribute to him. He was a chain smoker. Okay. And funny thing is, he didn't even think when he got the cancer in his tongue. He didn't even think that was from smoking. I've seen interviews where he said because he used a metal pick and he would put the metal pick in his mouth and he was surrounded by so much electromagnetic radiation from amplifiers and gear and whatnot. He thought that was the reason why he got cancer in his tongue and ultimately in his throat. So I don't know about all that. It might have been the fucking 3 packs a day, Ed. So it didn't stop at the guitar either. His dream was to get a Marshall amplifier because he saw one in the music store, and he saved up. It was like he saved up a whole summer to get a Marshall amplifier, and he says he remembers that he felt like it sounded its best with the volume all the way up. He goes, but it was way too fucking loud. But he said that was where his sounds were. That's the way he loved it to sound, but he said it was too loud. So he thought there was something wrong with the amplifier. So he bought another Marshall head, and when he plugged the new Marshall head in, he said he could turn it all the way up, but it wasn't loud. He goes, it was really low. So he would play it, and he was wondering why it was so low. But he said he had all the knobs turned up, so it had the sound that he wanted, but the volume was too low. So he discovered on the back of the amplifier, it's 220 for, I guess if you use it in Europe, the UK, 220. It had a 220 and a 110 voltage. And it was on 220 for UK, and it was plugged into 120. So he made the connection that the voltage affected the volume. So he tried hooking up his amplifier's voltage control to a dimmer light switch on the wall of his house. Like one of those dimmer switches, and it caught fire in his hand. So he went and he talked to a local electronics guy at an electronics store. And the guy's like, yeah, you need a variac. So he put a variac inside the amplifier, and he was able to adjust the voltage of the amplifier so you could get the full overdrive volume up sound at lower volumes. And he said for recording, he'd put it at like 60%, and for live, he'd put it at 80%. So like, what? I just, you could go on and on about this guy. So yeah, there's other doodads and baubles on here. We got guitar strings coming through here with tuning knobs to hold the lid on. And I tell you what, it holds that lid on amazing. That really worked out well. Everything worked out really well on here. We put the 4-score on the front because when I did this build, I wanted it to be function over form, right? Because let's face it, it's a spray paint job. It's not the best in the world. But everything is functional. I thought to myself, how would we mod this Nintendo so it'd be functional? I said, wouldn't it be cool to have the 4-score built in with turbo buttons built in and a selector switch, the 4-score built in. It's functional. Like it works. You want to play Super Off-Road? We can plug in 4 controllers. I thought that was neat. Like I said, the cigarette lighter works. We even used an RC car battery from the 80s, so it's period correct. I thought that was neat. I could have used a lithium-ion battery that would have been a quarter of the size. But this was neat to do it like that. Again, the ashtray from a muscle car, of course. It's Van Halen. And on the back, there's a lot of controversy on why Eddie Van Halen put the reflectors on the back of his guitar. Some people say it was to shine light back into the audience, to make like a prism effect, to shine light back into the audience. I don't believe that. I have a theory about why he put reflectors on. These are trailer reflectors, by the way. He got them at a truck stop. Cheap reflectors. I have a theory about this. I think it's because he used to play with his shirt off. And if you've ever played a guitar with your shirt off, the guitar body tends to stick to you. I think maybe the reflectors might have helped with that, or created like maybe pressure points where it was comfortable for him to play with his shirt off. That's a theory. Because to me, that's more functional. And that guitar was pure function, baby. And that guitar also went through different... First he painted it black. You want to know something nuts about Eddie Van Halen? This is fucking nuts. In an interview I was listening to with him, they asked him, what were your musical influences growing up? Who did you like? And he goes, I liked Eric Clapton when he was with Cream. He goes, oh yeah, what did you like about that? He goes, Eric Clapton was really no bullshit. He would just plug into the amplifier and play, and it was just what he liked. He liked Eric Clapton's style. And then the interviewer says, so what are some of your other influences? He goes, I really don't. He goes, after Eric Clapton left Cream, he goes, I kind of, stopped listening to music. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how, what? What? And he's like, yeah. And then he says to his brother, Alex was in the audience. He goes, Alex, what was the last album I bought? And Alex says, it was like Peter Gabriel or something like that. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm so wrapped up in my own world. He goes, I don't really listen to anything. And then you're like, you start to realize what a genius this guy is. He's not even listening to other music. Like, whoa, what? He's just creating his own music. So, I mean, that's fucking nuts. That's fucking nuts. Let's face it. And the other wild thing about him is he quit drinking. When he quit drinking, he said something that I thought was really, really profound. They asked him, how do you feel when you quit drinking? He goes, oh man, he goes, it was great. He says, when I used to drink, I would go out on stage and I would play. He goes, and I would think in my head, man, I'm playing great. And he goes, later on, I'd listen to it and I'd go, boy, that sounded like shit. And this is Eddie Van Halen here. So, it didn't sound like shit. And he goes, when I stopped drinking, he goes, I would go out there and play. And I'd be like, while I was playing, I'd say, man, this sounds like shit. And then later on, I'd listen to it and I'd say, wow, that was really, really good. So think about that. Think about that. And he did like 30 hard years of drinking. So think about that. Did we even see the really, really raw potential of Eddie Van Halen? Or we just seeing the fog of a genius? Ashka maramua maraminke. It kills me. It kills me. And I'm going to tell you something right now. This is the thing I want to leave you with, and this is the thing I think that affected me the most. And on here we have the quarter that Eddie Van Halen used is 1971 quarter, and it was the last piece basically that I put on the machine. And that's because I have a 5-gallon jug, like this glass 5-gallon jug full of coins. And I dumped it out on my dining room table. Well, I couldn't dump the whole thing out. We're talking about 5 gallons. It's a huge, huge coin jar like this. And I started to go through this coin jar. And fuck if I couldn't find a 1971 quarter. It took me 2.5 hours to go through this change, searching every single quarter. I found every year of 1970. Every year. 1970, 1972, 1978, 1976, 1979, 1974, 1973. I found every year of 1960s. Except for I think it was 63 or something. All the 80s, all the 90s. And I could not find... I got to the end of that jug and I was just deflated. And this was a Friday. Okay, so I have been on this kind of mission with this for the last week. I had been coming home from work, working on the console, going inside and just basically crashing, not eating good, exhausted. And I got to Friday and I was completely deflated. And I'm sitting at the kitchen table and my wife says to me, what's the matter? And she goes, I'll make you coffee. And I'm like, all right. And she goes what's the matter? And I said, you know something? I fucking went through this whole goddamn 5-gallon. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went through this whole goddamn 5-gallon coin jar looking for this 1971 quarter. I said, found every other year. I said, I couldn't find that one. It's just I'm pissed off. I was asking people at work. I'm asking people that I walk with parents on the way home from school. And they're all like, yeah, we'll check. And they're like, okay, fucking nut job. We'll go home and check quarters for you. And I'm just like, I was so stressed by the end. I'm like pulling my hair out. And my wife goes, well, I got some change in my purse. And I got mad. And I just said, you know what? I said, just sit down and have coffee with me. I got pissed. I'm like, I don't need any more of this shit. She goes, no. She goes and gets a purse. And she digs her hand in the bottom of a purse and pulls out like a fucking handful of change. And dumps it on the table. There's 5 quarters on the table. Would you know the very last quarter we look at was a 1971 quarter. Guys, I fucking broke down. I broke down. I lost it. And I was so welled up with emotion, but I had to do it in 1980 style. I grabbed that quarter and I looked up and I went, thanks, Ed. And my wife looked at me and she just started laughing because it was really corny. But it was true. It was true. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. And after the way this fucking build went, I mean, that was the cherry on top. And I guess that's why I felt compelled to come out here and just, I don't know, bullshit about this console. Because that's about it. That's about it. I had a lot of fun with this one. I had a lot of fun. These builds aren't that fun. This one was fun. And, it's that one. This one's dedicated to Eddie Van Halen, dedicated to his family, dedicated to Alex, dedicated to Wolfie, his son. I can't imagine how heartbreaking it is to lose your father like that. At young. You're relatively young, right? So, yeah, that's it. Guys, do you realize that you just tuned in to the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization? And you better believe that. With a 4K face! We'll see you next time.